Okay, this is going to be a video about the refugee crisis, or should I say, the so-called refugee crisis. First of all, what is a refugee? A refugee is somebody genuinely fleeing a war zone. They are in fear for their life, they are terrorized, they are panic-stricken, and they are making their way to a temporary safe haven in a neighbouring land. That's pretty much the definition of a refugee. You won't find that exact word for word in a dictionary, but let me assure you, if you read up on your history books, you will see what I have just said is what a refugee is. Okay? So, I'm going to give you a little talk about what I saw when I was in the military. When I was serving in the military, the British Army to be exact, I was sent on operations to a country called Kosovo, formerly of Yugoslavia. While I was in theatre, we were in a neighbouring country called Macedonia, just north of Greece for those folks who don't know where it is. And in Macedonia we saw genuine refugees. This is what they tend to be like. Refugees tend to be families. They tend to be carrying belongings that they have taken with them at the last possible moment that they can flee their home village, their hometown, and things of this nature. They tend to be older people or very, very young people. And they don't tend to generally be my age or younger, or my age or somewhat older. They tend to be in the newborn children up to young teenager, and then you jump forward about 40, 50 years, and then you get the age group of the next male demographic. For the females, it's normally the age range is more uniform. The age range is normally all the way through the spectrum, all the way through the age spectrum, if you will. Now, the reason for this is men who are in a country that is a war zone are normally fighting. They are normally fighting either one side or the other side. Men do not flee war zones. Men fight in 9 times out of 10. Yes, granted, some will be refugees who are of the fighting age because they can't fight, they won't fight, it's not in them to fight. But let me assure you, there's not many people in general that do this. Okay? And I know this because I saw them with my own eyes. I saw them at the border trying to cross over from Kosovo into Macedonia. They had desperation on their faces. They'd be carrying bags with them. They'd be carrying bags between them. There'd be like 2 people and they both have a grab handle and be meekly making their way down the well-trodden road towards the border checkpoint. These are the sorts of people who are refugees. They're, like I said about the look of despair, they have a downtrodden look on their faces. They just want to leave a place that is terribly afflicted with warfare, and they want to try and go somewhere safe. And you can also see that they want to return one day to their own country. They are refugees. That is what a refugee looks like. Every time I read the news on the internet, watching it on the mainstream media, I always see this whole same old yarn. The refugees at Calais, the refugees in Greece, the refugees in Germany, and so on and so forth. And it's absolutely puke-inducing because anybody with half a brain knows that they aren't really refugees. Anybody who's actually been to a war zone or been on operations around war zones will tell you they aren't refugees at all in 9 times out of 10 cases. This is the refugee story, should I say. The fake refugees, which is what I'm going to call them. They are fake refugees. They are invaders, unarmed invaders, but they are invaders nonetheless. So, that's the first part of the video over. I'm going into the second part now. What do we see of these fake refugees? Okay. They are young men of fighting age. There are very, very, very few females. There are few older men. There are not many young boys and teenagers, although there was a fair amount of those. So that's the first bunch of criteria on the fake refugees. The second thing about them is the refugees who are fleeing war zones don't have the demeanour of chancers, of petty criminals, of scam artists, of rapists, of predatory men who are basically opportunists. These are the people that don't want to fight because they're either too cowardly, because they know there's easy pickings. It's easy pickings in Europe. That's who these people are. You'd see a small element of these folks in the ones who'd be selling you things. They'd have an element of like the bazaar type people who want to sell at markets, open air markets, those types of folks. I mean, they're arguably not. They could be a grey area, but that's just a small minority. Most of these folks are basically weaponized invaders, not in this sort of weaponry. No, that'd be easy. That'd be quite simple if they had this sort of weaponry. But when they come in unarmed, but in large numbers, into a European set of countries that is just hopelessly enchained to the welfare state, and something they know about, then we have a big problem. They aren't refugees, people. Get it into your heads. Fake refugees. Invaders. And yes, some will say, oh, but there was this guy and his family was all murdered, and he flipping had to leave the country. His family were all murdered. Okay, why did he leave the country then? Why didn't you fight? Why didn't you take up arms? Why didn't you go and join a militia outfit who would have doubtless had weaponry, because we all know that there's plenty of weapons flowing in from certain countries? Why didn't you do this? These people, while some will genuinely have to have done this because they might not have had the warrior instinct in them, although that's another story about Islam and its warrior instincts. Trust me, people who have really been screwed over in a country will want to fight back. The genuine soldiers, the genuine warriors. So don't buy into any of this, oh, we're fleeing a war zone. Yeah, okay, where's the family? Where's the children? Where's the elderly? I don't see this. I see a man of fighting age who has managed to make his way on foot, by boat, through several countries, claiming asylum. Pull the other one, pal, because I know our ancestors. Our ancestors would have turned them back at sword point. They'd have fixed bayonets and marched forwards, and they'd have scurried back where they came from. The reason they're here is a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is Europe is soft. It is a soft land and country. Yes, there are exceptions. Yes, there are tough people still there, but guys, there's not as many as there used to be. And more importantly, they ain't in control anymore. The softies are in control. The nation wreckers are in control. The people who want to basically see the country get transformed into something our ancestors would be crying and screaming treason at have taken control. And that is the story of refugees in a nutshell, what I've just described. Obviously, the situation is ever fluid and changing. I'll be making more update videos on this. But this is just my explanation to you folks out there what the real deal is with these refugees. So we've got problems with how people are, problems with our leadership, problems with outsiders, foreigners, non-European foreigners to be specific, to put an absolute laser-like clarity on things coming in, and so we have all these issues, and this is the boiling cauldron of the fake refugee crisis. So I'll leave you on that. Europa Infinitus.